Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Tables with your host, Rob Bradley,
John Charles Ciccarelli,
James Burrows,
and Damien Hallwood.
Hello? Is anyone there? Hello? We've been saved. We're back.
We made it out.
Is it Tales from the Tables back again after so long?
We took that choose your own adventure a little too seriously and got hella lost.
yeah, right. Yeah.
It's been 84 years.
Yeah, crikey Moses. Sorry about that, everybody. We basically went on hiatus for a couple of months because myself and Damien both became, well, Damien's already a dad. He became a sequel dad. I became a new dad. So, so that kind of took up a lot of our time. And but now we've decided, right, who needs sleep? Sleep is for the weak.
right?
So we're now just doing our podcast. Hopefully we're gonna try and get it out every week. I think we could probably do it. Couldn't we?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it. We're gonna do it.
I mean, me and JC don't know what the big deal is. Like, I don't understand why you can't have a baby, do a podcast, run a business all at the same time. It just
have a wife, have kids,
right.
have a house.
Yeah, right. Well, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. When I became a dad, I realized, and I'm sure Damien can vouch for this, I realized very swiftly that I had lost something that I never realized I had, and that is freedom.
Yeah, no free time anymore.
It's
no free
literally
time.
gone.
Yep.
Lay-ins, all those lovely lay-ins that you used to have on a Saturday. We used to stay in bed until 11, 12, whatever. Gone. No, it's totally gone. I'm up at 3 a.m. I'm up at 6 a.m. and that's it. That's my day.
No,
The weird thing is,
3 a.m. till 4. That's like
what is a
and then
nap?
6.
Do you ever take naps? No naps.
I don't really need them,
man.
to be honest. I just live off coffee, so I just drink that and just
Do
get
your
health
own.
forever.
Are you burning through your own inventory right now?
I am, yeah. I have. This is my mystique because I've not been able to do any farmers markets. I've literally got 17 bags of coffee on my desk over there. It's literally just like, I'll just crack open another one.
It's about a week supply for you at the moment. Then.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides, I take a little offense because honestly, James and I have also been very busy. We basically have a kid of our own because we've been playing Helldivers nonstop.
Ooh,
All right.
Together.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A little bit,
wow.
yeah, a fair
Yeah.
amount. There was a whole epic moment where we blew off the arms of a Hulk and then extracted. We got that achievement. It was
good.
It was great.
Now you say it, JC, I can see that you guys have there's like a bonding that's kind of taken hold here, like some kind of bond gone on. Like James before the podcast, he was like, yeah, that's right, JC. Like this, like a really like JC. Like this, like he's got like he's so used to calling you it. It's like just a thing.
Yeah, that's right. You can tell. You can hear it in his voice. And you can hear me treat him a little bit with more derision.
Looks like love.
Because I'm putting him down because he constantly kills me in our missions. I'm like,
See, this is why I don't play this.
Yeah, this has happened quite a bit. Yeah, JC's very patient with me.
James blue on blue, constant blue on blue. Is it?
Yeah.
Well, the problem I have is that you call in pretty much constant airstrikes in Helldivers, and I'm very trigger happy with those.
Or? Right.
I mean, it's the point of the game, but also me personally. But yeah, what I do forget to do is tell JC when I've done this, and usually he's running towards the enemies, or the enemies are running towards him, and there's like an overlap. And it kills him and everyone else around.
Yep. And it's always fire. There's always fire involved for some reason.
I do like the fire. Yeah.
Even if we're fighting robots that aren't really vulnerable to fire, there's fire anyway. And I'm like, James, why? Why?
Well, we know historically
JC,
the fire
and everything.
I've dropped the 500 kg bomb, and I'm like, now you tell me. As I'm running away.
we know historically fire makes robots look cooler.
That's true.
That's true.
So, when a T-800 rises out of the flames in any movie, even if it's a bad movie, that looks cool. So
it does look cool.
Yeah,
or they sink into the lava with a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it can still. Yeah. Although his CPU is like melting, he still manages to like put a thumb up.
Yep. Thumbs up have been around a lot lately in the nerd world, right? Because of Fallout.
Yes,
Damien,
I've been enjoying that.
You're very much the Fallout. I would say probably Uber fan. aren't you? Damien?
Sort of, yeah. I've seen the whole. I've watched the whole show through. No spoilers.
I'm watching it on my
if I can avoid it.
through
I've watched the whole show through. It's very, very good, very faithful. I've played a good number of the games, except for the really early ones, because they just were around at a time when I wasn't really playing.
Like
Certainly wasn't playing on PC.
Right.
But from 3 onwards, I've played a lot. I have the RPG, and of course have a game upcoming in May, which there is still a place available.
Yours.
No, there's not. No, there's not. Damien, it's sold out.
Oh, is there not? Is it really?
It's sold out. It's sold out this morning. Sorry, I haven't updated sheet yet.
Oh no, that's fine. I did check.
I've been really busy. Look at all this shit on my bloody.
What is that? Oh,
this is,
man,
that's all my dice. I've got all this stuff because obviously got Rolldark Fest on Saturday, so I've been making dice all this week. So
what's the D&D box I see on top of your couch?
Oh, that's that's the.
Is that a starter kit?
For you a second. No, that's not a kit.
Oh,
is it the deck of many things?
Lego? No, it's a Lego thing.
No, it can't be.
Oh no, it's a deck of many things. Yeah,
it's a deck of many things box.
Nailed it.
It's gonna be in the raffle on Saturday.
Nice.
£3 a ticket, £10 a strip, boys. You know what to do. Okay.
Sexy. Speaking of boxes and sexiness, that Fallout TTRPG photo of the whole kit that you took, Damien, that looks fantastic.
Yeah, that's actually a combination of, and this speaks to my fandom of Fallout. That's a combination of bits from the RPG and also from the two special. I got the special edition of Fallout 3 with the lunchbox and the bobblehead and everything inside, and then the Pip-Boy edition of Fallout 4 with the full-size Pip-Boy, which sadly it was built to fit a phone inside it with an app that would actually function, so you could use the Pip-Boy in the game.
That's cool.
But sadly, my phone, and I think most phones now, are just too big and oversized to fit in it anymore. So it just doesn't really work. But it looks great, sat on the shelf. It has a little light on it and everything, and I've got the bobble. In fact, both bobbleheads from both special editions appear in the show, in the Fallout show. Both of them. It's the exact ones.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's very, very cool.
Nice. Awesome. That honestly, wait, hold on. I meant to ask what, how many players do you have in your Fallout game that's upcoming?
So now 5.
5. Oh, so you got room. I'm gonna jump in there. I'm gonna just take a peek, see how it goes. Is there a VAT system in the TTRPG?
Yes, there is.
Nice.
Yeah. So when you use a weapon, it basically randomly determine where you hit unless you choose to target. And if you choose to target, then you roll a 20-sided dice with each face representing parts of the body.
Cool. That's actually smart.
So I say that's the random aspect of it. If you choose to hit a certain location, it simply makes it harder to hit, but is more focused.
I do that a little bit in D&D 5e, honestly. I have a bit of a homebrew system where you can kind of make a called shot. Like, you know how people will, or people less familiar with the game or people too familiar with the game will be like, can I aim for this thing's head, or can I aim for this thing's hand that's holding the wand that's screwing us up? I'm like, yeah, we need more rules for something like that. Like, its AC should be higher because it's smaller and harder to hit, or something like that. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because Rob is stripping in the.
Yeah, I like the idea of cool shots.
Muscles. We were distracted by you, Rob.
Sorry.
I totally called it out.
I'm muting myself as well. Sorry, I didn't realize. But don't you hate when that happens? You take a jumper off and your t-shirt just goes woo. Flashes. You're like, good job you didn't see my nipple piercings.
That was just cut off below the screen.
Got a dragon tattoo though. Have you seen that?
Oh,
of course.
Oh,
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I'm often getting it out. Yeah.
Of course,
you would have seen it, James.
That's the later podcast.
A Malta, yeah.
A Malta, yeah, right.
Walking on your top off constantly.
We were at the swimming pool. That's why, James.
The hotel swimming pool.
Yeah, I get the cold shot question a lot. It's always, so this thing has a big eye, right?
Yeah. It's a Cyclops. Like, if you have some monsters like the Hydra, the Cyclops, like there are certain things you're going to try, right? Things that are kind of ingrained in our society for stuff to try. So yeah, I have a bit of a system for it.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, that's cool. I'm hoping to get constant reports on your Fallout game.
Well, what I will say, I'll say two things. You mentioned about player count. It was capped at 5. If I get a lot of inquiries about it, because I know Fallout is very big right now, I would be tempted to bump it up by a player or 2. It's just that the module I'm running, it recommends to 5, but there's no reason, I don't think, if people are really, really desperate to get in on the campaign, that I couldn't bump it up by 1 or 2. The other thing I'll say is
do 11.
In terms of to 11,
do what I did
up
once.
To 11.
Do 11 players all at once for 6 hours, and they're all teens with no experience. Do it.
Goodness me!
And you're alive.
That hurts to think about. I will say that the system, it's the 2D20 system from Modiphius, which also operates in Star Trek and Dune. They've got a Dishonored one. They've got some of their own. It translates probably the best to Fallout out of all of those systems, because it allows the RPG to function with all of the aspects of the video game, certainly the more modern video games anyway, like the VAT system and the perk system and the modding the weapons systems and even action points. It even has a whole system for action points, which if you know the video games is kind of a resource that allows you to use your VATs. It depletes action points depending on how many targets you're targeting or how many parts of their body you're trying to target. And it even has that system.
It translates over well.
Right? Yeah, the stats are the special stats from the video game. It is a very close 1-to-1. It leans very heavily towards Fallout 4. And I know there's some people that upsets a little bit because I don't think in the fandom, Fallout 4 seems to be a little bit of a sort of oddball. It's sort of like people either really love it or people are kind of like, nah, Fallout 3 and New Vegas were better.
Is it the setting? Is it the Commonwealth that they just didn't care for and they preferred the NCR?
I don't think it's the Commonwealth. I think for me personally, the base building was a bit. I think it's a combination of things because the story is set up, and I won't spoil it because I imagine there's a lot of people that are going to try and go back to it now, especially since it's getting a big console update.
I was thinking about it when it got the console update.
The story has a very clear. This is why you are going out into the world, and it is the sort of thing that you would expect somebody would put every second of their time and resource into solving that particular mystery. There's a very compelling reason why you would do nothing more than follow that main golden path.
Right, but
then the game goes,
rule of the wasteland.
Hey, do you want to make a base?
Yeah.
In fact, no. Do you want to make 6 bases? And then have them all fully functional farming communities with defenses that will call upon you every waking hour of your day to come and help them when they get invaded by raiders.
Oh, yeah.
And that's on top of all of the colossal getting sidetracked, which is there's an amazing getting sidetracked quote in the show.
Yes.
Getting sidetracked by all the...
not get sidetracked by bullshit all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's on top of all the sidetracking that Bethesda games are famous for. So I think for me, that was there's a bit of dissonance between, I really should be following this golden path because the reason for doing so is really, really important and compelling for the character, especially if you want to role play it.
The base.
But
join the Brotherhood of Steel.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's
a bit
kind of the same as Skyrim was exactly the same, wasn't it? It had like there was like a clear path you had to follow. You had to get those dragons. It was just like that's what you're doing, and it was
that's the Bethesda formula.
I would argue Fallout 4 is more so just because of the setup is very personal, very very personal. The whole becoming a Dragonborn thing is pretty important, but this is really personal, like jab into the side stakes of we're targeting your character specifically and in a very personal way. So yeah, I think that. I don't know. I love Fallout 4.
It's a fun one. I never liked it as much as I did the Elder Scrolls series, but I think that's only nostalgia based. Like I was into the Elder Scrolls for a long time, as we've talked about plenty here. And I think when I caught on to the rest of the Fallout fandom, I had missed 3. I tried New Vegas, but then got it was just too buggy when I originally picked it up, and I never sadly went back to it because apparently it's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And then I picked up 4 and I played it a lot and I was like, I love this, just not as much as I love Skyrim or Morrowind and things like that, or Oblivion.
Yeah, the Elder Scrolls are like, if you're a fantasy fan, that's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
It's like, and it's like with Fallout, I love it. I definitely like the atom punk side of things, like the fact that it's like it's actually like the atomic bombs dropped in what 2077, but it looked like the 1950s.
Yes.
But obviously, it was the futuristic version of the 1950s.
Yeah,
right.
so they dropped
the Cold War had turned into an actual war. And
they dropped the bombs in World War II.
Right.
But instead of technology going by the way of transistors and things, it instead went to nuclear power, and everything was nuclear powered and infinite resource. So they were able to build nuclear robots and nuclear cars and all these incredible inventions and laser weaponry and
it was a positive thing, like Nuka-Cola and
it was a utopia, a nuclear utopia.
But interestingly, the music never got updated, so everything is still
like 40s, music.
The ink spots,
And then by 2077, the world was at war again, because war never changes. It was a Sino-American war. China invaded Canada, and there was a resource war, and then the bombs dropped. And there's many theories as to why that happened, and the show touches on that as well. Touches on that a bit too. Cool. But the bombs fell in 2077 and left the world in this post-apocalyptic nuclear utopia.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because in terms of world building, when you're sort of building your games for D&D and other RPGs, it's always quite good to have something like that be the kind of crux for the backdrop of your setting, like something that's happened that's like really epic,
a catastrophic event.
Yeah, like a catastrophic event of some sort that is like happened. Like it's like I love the one with like, because we're doing at Rolldark Fest this weekend. We're doing the vampires have taken over the whole of like pretty much wherever it is we are, the realm basically, and they've become like supreme leaders of humanity, and we're kind of like cattle now. Humanity and humanoids have become like their cattle. And I don't know if you guys have ever read these books, Brandon Sanderson.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yep.
Yeah, it is the Final Empire.
Oh, I haven't read Final Empire.
The Mistborn trilogy.
Yeah, I read the first, but beyond that, I haven't. But I heard they're excellent.
Yeah, with the dark, basically the backstory is the Dark Lord succeeded and takes over the whole of the realm, and he's now like the boss. And it's really, really good. It's really clever because it raises the stakes instantly. The stakes are just like raised straight away.
The post-apocalypse thing in fantasy is kind of, it lives, certainly D&D lives and breathes on that, because the idea is that that's what gives you your dungeons. Is your ancient civilizations that have fallen. And that's what your dungeons come from. And coincidentally enough, that's exactly what Fallout is, because you go to vaults and all these underground complexes, which are just like dungeons. So that D&D often has that trope, because that's where you get your classic dungeon from, is the ancient civilization that fell centuries ago, and that's where all the magic and stuff is. So
what I really like is the constant push of these games to push into another fandom or into another boundary. The what I'm talking about specifically is with the Brotherhood of Steel. Their dogma and their language and their stylization is so very fantasy, right? You have knights and squires, and they're basically paladins, and they have orders, and the way they speak is quasi medieval, right? And so they're really pushing to sort of embrace that older aspect, whereas so many fantasy, sort of traditional fantasy or high fantasy games always have something that's pushing the boundary in the other way, right?
Pushing forward.
Pushing forward in technology. You'll have the gnomes that are particularly good with grenades and helicopters and firearms that they're inventing and stuff like that. It's so interesting that even when you've set up a parameter for a game or a boundary or a world or something like that, and you want to push those walls a little bit further away from your DNA into something else, there's always an element of it. So
much I would love to, but I've never run a game of D&D where it is, Lord and Baron and Sire and, very, very medieval fantasy, without, gunpowder weaponry and tall ships and, TikTok technology and all this sort of stuff, it would be fun to play that, but you're right, it is weird that sci-fi pushes back. Dune does the same. Dune is very
Dune does the same.
Medieval
100%
hierarchy and stuff, and then like you say, fantasy, certainly D&D always sort of pushes forward and becomes more and more science fiction than fantasy a lot of times.
I think it's this, I don't know, it's I have this theory that it's related to the fact that we are never content with one thing. We want to be many things at once, and that's just us as a species. So even if we are very well set into a fantasy game or into a fantasy world, if you can push that a little bit, if you can just reach out and be like, I found some weird ancient civilization technology which is more advanced than the one we have now, or it explains why our civilization fell and we've regressed back to a medieval age. There's so much fun in that, and players love it. I think I had a game just last week where they were going through a treasure hoard of a particularly strange place, and they pulled out what I was describing, and then ultimately they pieced it together, and they're like, wait a second, is this a gunpowder pistol? Is this a firearm? And I was like, well done. Has this weird little bracket at the bottom with this curved semi-moon shaped thing that looks like it can be pulled back, and a long, you might call a barrel at the end of it. Okay.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? I think that if we were to have a galactic, like, if it was like Star Trek, right, and you had humans and we were being categorized as a species of what we were in terms of, like, what are these guys? What do they do? We would be upgraders. We upgrade constantly. If you were to get two ants nests from, like, say 200 years apart, there'd be no way of telling the difference. If you were to get two human colonies 200 years apart, they're going to be completely different.
Vastly different.
Vastly different. Same kind of thing, we all live in houses, but we're constantly improving things. We're constantly getting better. It makes me think, like, sometimes when I'm like sat on the loo, doing my business, I'm like thinking to myself, I wonder where we're going. Like we keep making things so amazing and so amazing, so amazing. Where does it end? But the funny thing is that when you yourself, if you're building something and you complete it, you have that moment of like, and then it's like, okay, what's next?
Yep. The insatisfaction, like the fact that we're never satisfied.
It calls to mind is it Arthur C. Clarke, the any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Someone, I remember this quote.
Like the crystals in Superman.
Yeah, so you can, because I think Numenera is pretty much entirely based on that premise, the Numenera game. But the idea that your magic items can really be anything, because that civilization was so advanced that they could do these amazing things, and now it's just buried underground for you to find, so it doesn't really matter whether it breaks your rules or not, because it doesn't exist in commonplace now. It did then, though.
Back to your point, Rob. Has anybody here started watching Three Body Problem?
I finished it. I love Three Body Problem.
I've read the book, but my God, the acting is just fucking dreadful. I watched the first episode and I was just like, oh my God, these people they've got no chemistry between any of them. There's like a ton of exposition, which I know you kind of need for a story like that, because it is very, scientific, science heavy, but yeah, the book is exceptional. The TV show is just a pile
I feel like the book is very similar though, when it's very exposition heavy. It's very sort of like
right, James,
old sci-fi style.
It's hard sci-fi,
like hard sci-fi, but also it doesn't really care about its problems. It's a bit like Asimov's stuff, where like Foundation, where it doesn't really, like, there are characters that you follow and stuff, but realistically, what is the point of the story is sort of like the overarching what's happening rather than who it's happening to.
I bring it up only because what you were talking about how humanity advances in comparison with other sort of animal species. There's a moment in the show, no spoilers, so this isn't a spoiler at all, but someone basically points out the rate of human evolution and progress is it's not consistent. It shortens every time, almost exponentially, right? So between Stone Age culture and the agricultural revolution, there was several thousand years. But between, Stone Age culture, like hunter-gatherer, and agricultural evolution. But then from agricultural evolution to industry was actually only a couple of thousand years. And then from industry to nuclear was only about 100 years or less. And then from nuclear to the information age was a few years, like 50 years. And then they realized that at that level of progress, humanity will evolve past the point that they see these other entities in the show at their current technology level. So it kind of predicts that humanity will reach this technology level faster than we should because of our current rate of progress, which, it's a show, but it's interesting to think about.
It made me go away and it made me go and rewatch The Martian, because that's sort of hard-ish sci-fi. I realised there's some inconsistencies in that, which led me to then go on and be like, oh, Andy Weir must have written some other books other than The Martian, and he has. And he's written a book called Project Hail Mary. I listened to the audiobook of that, and I just finished it yesterday, and it's incredible. They're making a movie of it,
okay, cool.
with Ryan Gosling coming out in
Project Hail
2026.
Mary. What is
Project
it?
Hail Mary. So essentially, the sun is dying due to space algae.
Cool.
That's
Nice.
and they
Sold.
send some astronauts out into space to deal with that. I was actually thinking about that. I may have just ruined the start of the book, because the astronaut wakes up with amnesia and no idea why he's in space.
For fuck's sake! Well, now he knows. Now I've sort of everybody else listens to this podcast.
We should
Yeah.
get
So it's a quick spoiler alert for that.
clip that you can edit. Because spoiler warning ahead.
I mean, it's a very small spoiler, to be fair, because it moves on from that very quickly. But it's excellent.
Project Hail Mary. Here we go.
The narrator for the audiobook is amazing as well. Like, he does a really good job.
Okay, quick fire round. Our favorite science fiction fandom of all time. James, you first.
Fandom.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Quick. First,
probably Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Damien.
Oh, this is hard.
Nope. You got this. Come on.
This is my favorite science fiction world,
yes,
or setting.
Whether it be a book,
I could guess what it is.
Show, video game.
Oh, man.
I completely forgot Star Wars and Trek had existed for a second then.
Yeah. This is
they're cliche choices, though. They're the cliche choices.
More space fantasy. I'm asking for science fiction. What could you not live without?
I'm going to say something here.
Can I guess what it is?
You can have a guess, yeah.
Alien.
That is on the list, and I hate being asked these questions, because I'm not the sort of person that can narrow it down. I hate these questions, but I think probably one of my favorite science fiction settings, because of just how fun and consistent it was Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
Oh shit!
That's my answer.
Oh,
that's my answer.
That should have been mine.
Yeah,
honestly, this is a horrible thing, and I know Rob might crucify me when he sees me this week, but I could live without Star Trek. I could live without Star Wars. I could live without many of these shows. I love them. I love them with a deep passion, but I could not live without Mass Effect ever since discovering it.
I need to play this game. I need to play this.
Yeah, you do.
Big game, man. Everyone bangs on about it to me. And I'm like, all right, freaking play it. But if it's got a hag in it, I'm not going to be happy. It's a hag in it. I can't kill.
Very.
Just kind of a hag in it.
Just in the fireplace. Just the fireplace. It's like, where the fuck's a fireplace?
a few of the older Asari could be hags.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The mom. Yeah.
I'm really excited because Modifius, who we've talked a lot about already, because they did Fallout and Star Trek, are producing a Mass Effect board game. Which
not
to me says not an RPG yet, which to me says they've got their foot in the door with BioWare, and BioWare has a new Mass Effect coming in the coming years.
A sequel to the show.
So I'm hoping that because I think they'd be a great pick for it as well. I'm hoping they do an RPG based on Mass Effect, because man, we've talked about that a lot.
Rob, you get to answer. Your can't live without sci-fi series, like your top go-to.
My top go-to.
It's Star Trek. It's got to be Star Trek.
Do you know what? I do love Star Trek. I really do, and I love Star Wars as well. I think it's probably going to be Alien.
Alien.
Yeah, I just think that world that's like the corporate greed and the fact they're in deep space, and it's just like fucking terror. Like I think it really kind of, I think it's the closest thing to the reflection of how we're kind of going with our like space race.
That's horrible to think, isn't
it?
it?
It's moved to private corporations, and
Yep.
private corporations
100%.
all have agendas.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look at asteroids have some of the rarest materials in this in the universe, pretty much,
Right.
like black gold, iridium, is it iridium, something like that?
Iridium.
Something that's really fucking rare. That if we could have but asteroids have it in abundance. So like in terms of like mining, they'll just mine the shit out of space, and they'll have like they'll have like AI robots on those mines to mine them. Then you'll have a robot uprising on our hands, and it will just all kick off. I hope I get to see all that shit.
It's
It's
a very real universe, isn't it? Like it
real.
feels very tactile and real and
the
very
dudes,
thought out.
Yeah, the dudes on the spaceship, just all they care about is their profit share. Like how much of the share we're going to get from all of this. Like, are we going to get our share? Like, they're picking up a distress signal. They don't give a shit about the fact that they're picking up a distress signal. They just care about their share, which speaks volumes for like people's mindsets of like where we could potentially go if we carry on a dark path. Do you know what I mean? Of like greed. It's just great. I just love it.
I was just going to say they're even content to spend huge amounts of time in hypersleep and get compensated for it.
Very true.
Yeah.
That they've grown to the point where they don't care that that's just part of the job. Is it's like long haul trucking times a million.
Well, they are space truckers, aren't they? Space truckers, aren't they? That's what they call them.
What if I were to tell you that there is a corporate entity that represents corporate greed in Mass Effect? And I'm ready for this. I'm going to blow your mind.
Yeah. Go on.
You can mine planets for iridium.
Well,
it is the least compelling aspect of the game.
Where's that Steam Deck? Where is it? Somewhere around here.
Oh god. The only problem is that Mass Effect 1
I've got it on the back over there.
But show its age a bit.
Yeah, it's at least a legendary edition that has upgraded everything a bit, so it's slightly less jarring now.
And Mass Effect 2 has one of the most mineable main plot lines out of the franchise. Is the end mission being laid out at you from the start, and then you spend the rest of the game preparing for that end mission.
Yep.
It's a great way to write an adventure.
It's the most game with the most heart, because it's the only one that like no holds barred. You have to do a mission for every single one of your ship companions, and you get to know their backstory deeply.
Yeah.
It's honestly BioWare's magnus opus, and I say that with things like Baldur's Gate in there and Dragon Age in there. They did so many great games, but I don't think they'll ever top Mass Effect.
I had Mass Effect 3 on my Xbox, and it was back when I lived with this guy who basically I lived in Blackheath in South London, and one of my brother's girlfriend's brother moved in with me into this flat. We became like flat buddies, and he flatmates. Sorry, flat buddies. Where the hell did I get that from?
Flat buddies.
Yeah, flat buddies.
Buddies in the skies.
Anyway, he didn't have a job, so he came from like a wealthy family background, all that sort of stuff. So he had like no job. But so one day I went into town on like a Saturday and bought myself a load of games. I've got Batman, Arkham Asylum. I can't remember which one it was. Like the latest one. Mass Effect 3 and a few other games, right? And I was like, cool, I'll play those during the week, all in cellophane. I come home from work on Monday. He's got Batman open. He's pretty much completed it, unlocked all the stuff, and he's also in the middle of playing Mass Effect 3, and he's just there telling me, "Oh, Rob, you'll love this game. It's amazing." And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself,
"That's my fucking game."
How can you not understand? Like, and I was pissed off with me. He's like, "Why are you pissed off?" And I was like, "Well, because you started playing my game." And he's like, "Yeah, but you said I could." I was like, "Well, yeah." But I'd like to be the one that plays it first. Like, how could you not understand that? It's like such a Anyway, so I'm a bit bitter with Mass Effect 3. I'm like,
in a way, he did you a favor
because he liked
you have to play 1 and 2 before 3. Like it's
really?
a full story, and that's like you jumping into Act 3 without knowing.
Okay, so you gotta get into it. Can you just rely on 1 and 2 being like backstory?
No, the way that game opened, I think you'd be pretty. It would take the opening of the game has some really high stakes that won't feel anywhere near as high if you haven't lived the other two.
Very true.
Okay.
Very
and then some characters you meet further down the line as well.
Look,
Right.
Yeah, that you'll have no idea who they are.
One
Yeah.
is a slog, but it will be worth it. Just keep that in mind. One is a slog, but it's worth it. 2 and 3 are phenomenal.
The story's
I'm
great.
I'm all about the slog.
Yeah.
I love a good grind on a game. Love it.
Yeah.
I play Farming Simulator for fuck's sake. I sat there with a carbine harvester harvesting wheat for like 2 hours. Just in one field, just to take it to the shop to sell it, and only get like $2,000. I'm like, oh great,
2 hours, $2,000 for your wheat.
That seems weirdly accurate to how real life farming is gone. My friends ready to go off.
I saw Caleb the other day. Did you guys watch Jeremy Clarkson's Farm?
No, I've not seen all of it. I've seen some of it. I've not managed to push through it.
Well, you know the blonde-haired guy, his farmhand.
Yeah,
Caleb. Well, I saw him the other day.
Yeah.
They literally
Nice.
lived like down the road. He walked into the pub when I was in the pub, and I was like, "Oh, it's a guy I used to go to school with." And I was like, "No, it's not."
No.
I just go on TV.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
You're like, Caleb, I'm on a farming simulator. Can I ask some advice?
I was going to ask him. Fucking Charlotte dropped me in it the other day, actually. Well, not the other day. This was a couple of months ago. We were at the farmer's market because I sell coffee at the farmer's market for anyone who's listening who doesn't know that. And
what's the name of your product that you sell at the
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's called the Last Unicorn Coffee Company. Go to www.lastunicorncoffee.co.uk. Tastes great. Yeah, it tastes really great. We've got all types of roasts, light, medium, dark, whatever you fancy, really. But anyway, yeah. Yep, got really lovely decaf, Swiss water decaf as well. Very environmentally friendly. All our packaging is recyclable as well. What did I say? Take me off a train of thought. Yeah, so I was there
at the farmer's market. Right.
That's right. So I was at the farmer's market, and Charlotte was like, we were talking to this guy who was an actual farmer, and he was a bit handsome. He was tall. He was all like disheveled. He's all like, ooh,
rugged.
Hello. Yeah, he's rugged. That's it. Disheveled, rugged. There you go. Disheveled.
Wait, he's West Country.
Anyway, he came over. He started talking. He started talking to us, and Charlotte was like, oh, so you're a farmer? And he's like, yeah, I'm a farmer. Yeah. He's like, oh, how much land you got? Oh, I've got like 60 acres, something like that. And so I was like, oh, nice. I said, oh, Rob's into Farming Simulator. He plays it on his Steam Deck like that. And she starts laughing to herself. And he turns to me and he goes, it's a great game, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's awesome. I'm like, fuck you. Try and embarrass me in front of a real farmer. But yeah, now I see him. He's like, you still using the Cast 280 combine, are you, Rob? I'm like, no, I've upgraded now. I've got the John Deere.
Yeah.
He's like, nice. What a loser. So silly.
Hey, speaking of, we should probably get into the news or something.
Yeah, we
should,
shouldn't we? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What news we got
lined up
for this last month?
We've got
loads.
I've been curating a fair amount. What I'll do is I will whiz through it. I've organized it into stuff about D&D.
Okay, cool.
Stuff about new RPGs that are coming out, and then a couple of ancillaries. Now I'll run through all of it, and then we can obviously pick out anything that we fancy. A lot of it's just kind of small updates and things, especially the D&D one. The first one on my list, the kind of sad one, I know you guys are going to want to probably talk about this, but we'll hang on to it, even though it's at the front. Baldur's Gate 3, Larian, has
Is that
announced...
a good game?
Yeah, apparently so. Larian have announced that they won't be returning to Baldur's Gate or Dungeons and Dragons for their next title.
What? For their next title?
No DLC.
For the next title, and there will be no DLC for Baldur's Gate 3 either.
Nothing.
So they are happy with their what most people seem to consider their magnum opus, and so they will be moving on from that. Whether they will return to it in the future, I'm sure if Wizards has the paycheck to give them, they will. But for the time being, for what will probably be many years, we will not see a Larian Baldur's Gate again, because it will take them many years to make whatever it is they're making next, and then obviously many years beyond that to make another one if that was what they went to.
Why'd you lead in with this, Damien? Why?
It would take a long time to get another Baldur's Gate. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but I think the studio don't necessarily want to be tied down. I get the feeling with a lot of these things, and here we said we wouldn't talk about it. I get the feeling with a lot of these things is I think working with Wizards and Hasbro is probably quite difficult and quite backwards and forwards in terms of giving and taking, and I suspect that they don't want to be tied to that project for another, probably best part of a decade, when because they're a very free studio. They are a very self reliant and free studio, and it's one of very few that are left that are producing such high quality games these days, it seems.
Damien, there's something in your background. I think that's the Pinkerton badge I see back there.
Sorry, what? Yes, I suspect they just don't want to be tied down. They want to make what they want to make, and if they lock themselves in with Wizards again, that's easily another 5 or 6 years of their time where they can't make anything else.
But the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Not even a class bump or just more content from existing 5e. Like I'm not surprised. I am heartbroken, but of course I trust Larian. Like if they were exhausted, and there's an interview where Sven was talking about how he knew it was the right move when all of his staff celebrated, and they were like, "Oh, thank God, the pressure is off," right?
Yeah.
Which is great, and honestly, good for them. I will, of course, we are a poor world for them not adding more content into that game, because they could have gone on forever. But the mods will do it. The modders will add at least level caps and increase spells and stuff like that. So if you're on Steam, at least you'll enjoy it.
It's a real shame because like you would have thought they would have some leverage with Wizards of the Coast based off the success of Baldur's Gate 3, that they could just be like, right, we've made this game friggin' amazing. It's like the number one game in the world right now. Now you need to cut us some goddamn slack. If you want us to do the next one, you need to get off our heels.
Yeah,
it's this good because of these choices that we made and this team. Give us your money,
Wizards,
bugger off.
I think beyond Wizards, Hasbro is to keep making this reference, is the Vault Tech of this situation. Hasbro are a massive organization, and I think they would dwarf Larian 100 times over. So no amount of look what we've done would, I think, force Hasbro to not push and make their own demands. And I may be completely wrong, I may be completely off on that, but the impression I've seen over the years is that Hasbro are quite a bullish and difficult company to work for in terms of mass produce.
Yeah.
So
are they on the stock market, Hasbro? Do they have floated?
I'm sure
they have stock. Yeah. They're public.
I
heard that Larian didn't want to continue the game because apparently one podcast, a guy called Rob, was complaining that he couldn't beat the hag in it. And it made it too difficult.
I'm not surprised. I'm not fucking surprised, to be honest. Like, bloody hag! Like Jesus Christ! Well, their stock's all over the place. They've literally had like.
I can imagine.
They had a great year. Like during the pandemic, they were like massive.
But that's the problem. They use that as a benchmark for their progress moving forward, not really expecting that their sales would dip.
Well, that's actually
that's the most stupidest thing ever, because we made like when Rolldark was like during the pandemic, I was like, holy fuck, if this carries on like this, I can like quit my job next week, when it was like when it was going nuts. But thankfully, I had a good mentor who was like saying to me, like, be careful. People are only having like online games at the moment because they're stuck indoors. It's like it's not going to be this way forever. It's like, and now with Rolldark, it's like come between July and September, you like I literally last every summer, the last 2 summers, I've been shitting my pants thinking, oh my god, my business is going to collapse, everything's going to go to shit, because like we get like no inquiries. Because no one wants to be indoors. They want to be outside.
People on summer holidays,
people on summer holidays are doing stuff.
Well,
during the pandemic, everyone was playing D&D.
Yeah, this is actually one of the stories, is that tabletop role-playing games has seen a dip in physical. This is physical sales, I should point out. This is physical sales. A 1% dip for tabletop RPGs in general, a 30% dip on Dungeons and Dragons products in hobby and game stores. That doesn't include massive conglomerates like Amazon and stuff like that, but hobby game stores have seen a fairly significant dip in Dungeons and Dragons specifically. Now, you've made a really good point on the pandemic situation. There are a lot of studios that have made that mistake. It's happening a lot in the video game space. That has crushed a lot of video game studios because they too saw a massive uptick in the pandemic and then a massive downtick after it. Also, it would be worth pointing out, I think, that because this is physical sales, and it's well established that Wizards are making a big push for online, with their sister, their app and the
D&D Beyond and everything.
The D&D Beyond, and the VTTs that they're making. So, and I imagine that the amount of people playing digitally now compared to historically is nothing but higher than it's ever been. I can only imagine it's the highest it's ever been. So that has to be taken into account as well.
I think even if you're playing in person, people are like, personally for me, if I run a game for some of my friends in person now, but I'll still do everything through. I get them to make their characters on D&D Beyond, especially new players. It's so much easier than like giving them this huge, relatively big book and being like, yeah, just read through all of that and make a decision. No, just give them some drop down menus, see what looks cool, and then or several books, yeah, exactly. Or if you want the extra classes actually, or these extra species that you can play as, let me just get you books 2 and 3 and 4. No, just give them like a list of like the 11 classes or 12. Yeah, give them a drop down list. It is easier. Like, and I think it is if there are more new players coming to D&D, it makes sense that it's gone that way because it's a much easier entry point into the hobby.
100%. Yeah.
And I also do feel like that, like hobby shops, like I think their reputations are maybe getting better, but there is that sort of stigma, like, oh, they're like Games Workshops have a similar thing where like, oh, it's a bit stinky in there, isn't it?
Oh God, oh God, oh Christ Almighty, that's the one thing I like puts me off them. I can't go into those gaming shops, and I play Magic. I play Magic for God's sake.
Yep.
You know, I'm just like
you're fine. There's a battle there then.
It's worse. Magic is far worse.
If you're hearing this and you're going to these hobby shops, just wear deodorant.
Just wash, for God's sakes. Have a wash.
I should point out that this, like, there are some great spaces, and you shouldn't be put off by the minority of people who are unfortunately a little. But there's like a reason that Comic-Con and stuff have signs up saying, "Please be respectful and come in clean."
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. It's horrific, is it? There's nothing worse than seeing somebody putting like loads of makeup and on top of dirt.
Yeah, but if you see like
Comic-Con in so long.
Yeah, but if you see on the internet stories like this about local game shops and Comic-Cons and stuff, and as they get more popular, you see more stuff about them, and as there's more people there, there's more likely to be people there that don't take care of themselves. Then, like, it's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost, where you're like, well, when new people do see the horror stories more than anything, because I mean, that's realistically that's what goes further on the internet, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah.
The bad stuff.
Yeah. Whenever I tell anybody that's like, not within the community, the D&D community or the role-playing community or even advanced board game community, and there's lots of these people obviously knocking around, those people that play sport and all those other things, right? And they literally just look at me like I'm yeah, no, yeah, right. Yeah. They look at me like why do you like put yourself into that world? And I'm like, what do you mean that world? It's like, it's what I love. It's what I absolutely love. And it's funny that it still has that stigma, because I know that a lot of places do have it, but it's because a lot of people, I think, the fantasy world in general and science fiction appeals to people that want to escape from this reality.
Right.
Not everyone, but there's a lot of people that feel that way, I think. And that also means escaping from the things that you feel like are put upon you that you have to do here as well. That's the sort of like my opinion on it, in terms of like when I look at it, and I think this is probably why people are like that, when it comes to nerdiness.
I don't know what you mean. I definitely enjoyed the shit out of doing my taxes yesterday when I would have much rather
the tax season in America. Oh dear. Sorry, JC.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Anywho, back to the news.
Yeah. So I think that was
right.
That was one of the
Let's talk about
biggest
smelly
stories.
nerds. Let's talk about smelly nerds again. Come on,
that was one of the bigger ones. So I'm glad we sort of naturally got to that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I should probably also interject. Rolldark Fest has never had that issue, thankfully.
No. We showered.
We opened the windows.
Can we put that in our advertisements? Like Rolldark Fest, our DMs have showered before they get there.
No one that's coming to Rolldark Fest is listening to this podcast, so we're fine.
We're
not offending anybody. If anyone gets offended, they're like, it'd be a strange thing to be offended by, because it's like, yeah, I don't wash. So what's your point?
Right.
You know? Oh, it's funny.
Anyway, sorry, Damien.
Yeah, so carry on, Damien. Go for it.
Last couple of bits on D&D. We got a couple of very small updates on the new stuff coming out. We got a piece of artwork for the wizard class, which is this very commanding looking woman in a big white robes with gold shoulder plates and a floating staff and all kind of Doctor Strange-esque symbology all floating around her, and her very neat spectacles sitting on her nose.
Cool.
Very cool. It's very magic. It's very Magic the Gathering looking. But that's very cool. And also just some insights into some of the people that have been consulting for the Dungeon Master's Guide, including, of course, Matthew Mercer and Deborah Ann Wall. Which is... Yeah, I agree.
I need to rein it in. Okay, all right. I'm calm. It's cool.
It's nice to know that they're still going out to, these really big influential people that aren't directly employed by them to get this feedback and consultation on the books. It looks like they're focusing a little bit on consulting about running games for kids as well. So perhaps there's going to be a specific part of the book that focuses on running for a younger audience, which is
good that Matt's still doing stuff for them when essentially they essentially creating their own RPG to try and rival Wizards of the Coast.
Oh yeah, but come on, like Matthew Mercer's like Tom Cruise to Scientology, isn't he? With them, you know what I mean? He's like, he's there like fucking Jesus. He's Jesus. He's Jesus.
He's a little bit, yeah.
He's Hasbro Jesus.
Very interesting to see how that pans out.
Damien, I had to look at that image that you were talking about. It is really badass, and it looks Magic the Gathering. But is that not Vajra Safar? Is that not who that is?
I haven't said that it is.
Because isn't that the Black Staff in front of her? Oh no, the Black Staff does look a little bit different. That's, I think, just a generic Staff of Power or a Staff of the Magi. But it looks very similar.
Evoking that.
Yeah, probably that. Right.
So that can.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know Forgotten Realms lore, Vajra Safar is the current Black Staff.
I didn't know that. I'm an awful DM.
So it continues the trend of having dedicated artwork for each class, and it looks like they're really going to pile art into these books. Speaking of the upcoming stuff, we have Tales from the Quests from the Infinite Staircase coming out, and they've actually released an abridged version of one of the adventures in there, which is the Lost Caverns of Zoj-Kanth, which has been released on D&D Beyond for free. It does say it's an abridged version of it, but from what I understand, that's one of the remade old modules that's in Quest for the Infinite Staircase. So you get a bit of a teaser of that.
So that's what that book is, right? That's purely old, like original D&D content upgraded to 5e.
I think so, with a new through line of this mystical genie character who's new to the lore. So,
right. Can we change the name of the podcast to Tales from the Infinite Tables as soon as Quest for the Infinite
why not?
Staircase comes out? Because you almost said it, Damien, and I was like, Tales from the Infinite Tables. Why not?
Do you know what? The name of our podcast is it's a bit annoying because if you Google it, there's about 1 million podcasts called Tales from the Tables.
I imagine it applies to quite a few
loads in the States. Yeah, I can't find it. No, sadly not. I can't find it on Apple Podcasts anywhere. You guys ever found it on Apple?
No, I can't find it on Apple either.
It's supposed to be.
There is an actual play podcast called Tales from the Table, and that seems pretty popular.
Well, we're popular too. We're about average 80 listeners an episode. That's pretty good.
Actually, we are the third. If you do just a plain old Google search for Tales from the Tables podcast, we're the third result down, and the header is cart, like shopping cart. like on the
Rolldark. It's on the Rolldark website, is it?
It's his card. Yeah, it's on the
so
Rolldark website.
It's so annoying that it's like, because the Rolldark website's got really good SEO. What is it? Tales from the Tables.
Yeah.
Tales from the Tables.
Yeah.
Why does it say just say cart?
I don't know.
It's just the algorithm.
Yeah. Google
I've got
our friend
I've got Tales
right
from the Tables podcast. Together they embark on a wild quest discussing everything from mental health in RPGs to how to improve your character creations. There's news from the tabletop RPGs. I don't have anything.
Actually, the top. If I type in Tales from the Tables podcast, the top result when I click through the Spotify link at the very top of the page does take it to us.
Oh, really? I guess it's different in the States then, because I have the first result is talesfromthetablecast.com, which is that actual.
Oh, yeah, we are the top result actually. Yeah, when you type in podcast, we are the top result. Sweet.
Must be in the UK though, so we gotta improve that SEO. For
how do we
do
that?
We add an eagle sound to the intro, and we call it Freedom.
There you go.
Tales of Freedom from the Tables.
Tales of Freedom from the Table.
Tales of Freedom. That's how we're gonna start.
I pledge my allegiance to the table.
Tables.
There you go. The United Tables of the Tales.
Yeehaw!
Yep. That's my whole culture.
Have you ever ridden a horse?
I think we've been fairly generous with American stereotypes there.
I've ridden 2 horses.
Do you feel the same way about horses as Ken does in the Barbie movie?
I mean, it's synonymous with America, democracy, and freedom. So yeah, no. I love horses. I have ridden horseback, both saddle and bareback. I have Western saddle. I have tied a lasso before. I'm not good with it, but I have tied a lasso before, and I have fired a shotgun into the air. So I think I check all the boxes.
So American. It's so American. Have you got a pair of cowboy boots?
Now, when you were firing the gun into the air, did you shout "yeehaw"?
Oh yeah.
I may or may not have. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, look, we've all got bowler hats and umbrellas and
monocles.
That's true, right? Monocles and pocket watches. I think, right? Yes,
but we're excellent.
And you all go.
We're excellent American spies because all of the lead characters in films seem to be British, doing great American accents. I will refer you to Ella Purnell as Lucy in Fallout, who is English.
She's British.
She's British. I had no idea. There you go.
Yeah, American accent is excellent. It's really good. It's really good.
Tom Holland, literally everybody. Every
Henry
what's his name? Benisquash Cumberdick as whatever his name.
The secret to a good American accent is to pick a region and work on the regional accent of the American accent, and then you will sound American. Because if you just go for the generic American accent, you just sound like a Wally. But if you go for a region, you nail it. And if it's not, as long as it's not New York, because New York is a bit too obvious. But if you
well, I mean, when you say New York, do you mean like the Brooklyn Italian stereotype of New York?
That's what I mean.
That is now a very small portion of New York. There's not much of that left anymore. Yeah. You go to some communities, they still, hey, I'm walking here, but it's very rare. Like you don't come across that in New York or in Manhattan on a daily basis. It's very
such
rare.
A fun accent.
Unless you're living in the right neighborhood.
Fun accent. That's the trouble.
Well, can I tell you a really quick tale from the table? I know we're interspersing it with the news, but it has something to do with this. So, have you guys played World of Warcraft at all?
No. 40 Paladin, Yep. Got my horse.
Nice.
Checked out.
So when you know the goblins there have these sort of Brooklyn accents, these sort of almost smoker-ish voices. So for one of the Wayfinders birthday games, we do private birthday games for the kids that I run the team campaign. One of them requested a World of Warcraft Cataclysm theme specifically, and I had this idea of kind of putting them in the goblin starting zone, and then something big happens there. Then the story develops from there. And I thought I was going to just kind of introduce a nothing character, but he ended up kind of staying with the party throughout the entire 4 hours that I ran this birthday game for. And of course, I gave him this oh God, what did I call him? I called him Baz, like Baz Luhrmann. That's who I was thinking of when I named him. And the first thing he does is the party ran into a pack of murlocs and they were killing some murlocs, and he comes over and starts cutting the legs off of the murlocs. He's like, "Hey, I'm making a barbecue over here. Yeah, we're gonna get some murloc legs and we're gonna have a great time. Hey, listen, yeah, you guys seem really nice. Where you from? Oh, you're not from around here. That's great. Let's go back to my village." I did that for 4 hours.
Christ.
My throat at the end of it was like,
is that when you had a strap?
It was awful.
So you got a strap, was it?
Yeah, right. That's how I got strap. This happened literally on Sunday, guys, like 2 days ago.
So if you can't speak this weekend, we know why. Just been.
Yeah, well, I'm
you're
trying. You're
obviously very good with your voice, JC, because like if I did that, I wouldn't be able to talk for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
my voice would
got like
you can do some things, and obviously vocal warm ups and stuff help, but like even 4 hours of that back to back and just riffing, because I kind of made him a very talkative character.
I've
not
definitely
a good
been
idea.
For it, creating an NPC that you think, I'm just going to give him this voice because this is going to be really fun, to do for a session.
Yeah,
and that becomes
I'll
the
do
party
it for like
companion
5 minutes
for the rest of the campaign.
Yep.
Oh, pro DM tip here: do not give a familiar to your party. A voice that is difficult to do over long periods of time and destroys your vocal cords, because I've done that before, and that was a mistake. Every week I'd come away the entire next day to be like, that's it. I can't do this again.
Yeah, guys, just have a wandering mage curse him with a permanent silence spell.
Genius.
That way, now he just has to sign the whole way. But no, I did the same. I had I had a satyr sort of snake oil merchant cropping up in a various amount of different games that I've run. And I named him Caliban, but he had the exact voice of Watto from from episode 1 of The Phantom Menace. So he was like, "Hey, well, you don't know Jedi." It's very similar, I realize now, to my Brooklyn Goblin voice, but he's like, "Hey, your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. You want to buy some stuff? I got some stuff for you." And imagine me doing that for hours. I was like, God, this is awful.
Bloody hell.
But anyway,
dangerous.
Yeah, so we're all Brooklyn Italians, but it's a dying breed. You really don't find that accent too much. Go to Jersey, you'll find it.
Shall live on in tabletop role-playing games. Time immemorial. So we'll quickly whip through, because I know we've gone long on the news. It's not a huge amount left, just some quick stuff we can whip through. It seems like the WizKids are doing a 50th anniversary miniatures box set, which is going to include some cool stuff, including characters from the cartoon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Vecna, Strad von Zorowicz. It looks like it's going to have 50 miniatures, including 10 rare figures.
Great. Definitely going to go with the Vecna ones.
It'll be 400 quid, won't it? Like the Tiamat.
Well, they did.
At least.
They did. I forget off the top of my head what it's called, but they do those really super rare box sets for all the modules. It's a specific company that does it. And that's
Beetle
it.
and Grimm.
Beetle and Grimm. And they did a Vecna one with a miniature and everything in it, but that was 500. That's 500 quid. So
if you don't want to spend that much, go on Etsy and search for specific D&D modules, and you can buy every monster for the entire module in one go for much less than that. Yes. And without the randomness of the WizKids boxes, which I find incredibly frustrating. And I now no longer buy them, because I'm like, well, I'm trying to run a game here and I know what monsters I need. I don't want to have to buy all these individual boxes.
I've never
get random stuff for it.
Yeah. I've never understood the logic behind that decision. Like, why?
Not for minis, like, for cards. I get it.
They're trying to get you to buy more of them. So like, it's
works.
money. Yeah, exactly.
It works.
Exactly.
No, it works so well. We figured out, my ex-partner and I, we had a flail snail in our campaign, and she really wanted a flail snail mini, and we fell into a very dark, deep well of a habit of buying those random boxes until we found one. I think we must have bought like 30 boxes before we found one. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Magic the Gathering. Packs. That's right where that comes from.
Yeah, they saw the model that worked, and they were like, "We can do this, but with plastic miniatures."
But the minis aren't even that good either.
No, they're really badly painted. They're really badly painted.
But here's the thing: if you don't paint at all, like me, they're great because otherwise I have my box of shame of unpainted minis.
I mean, I've got that. Yeah.
You know, unless I ever meet someone that wants to paint them for free for me, I'm never going to paint them. So,
Okay,
Anywho.
that's all the D&D stuff out the way. Some very quick announcement on some new tabletop RPGs that are coming, which I think some of them are going to perk some ears up for sure, whether it's yours or whether it's our listeners. If you don't already know about these, very quickly, Modifius are doing a second edition of Star Trek Adventures, which will launch at the later back end of this year. It looks like they are streamlining the game a little bit, and it looks like they are, certainly from the cover art they've been posting, focusing a little bit on Strange New Worlds and bringing that part of the universe into, which if you haven't seen Strange New Worlds and you like Star Trek, give it a go, because I think it's great. And they've also said that there will be modules thereafter to continue. And I assume it will be fully backwards compatible with everything. I sorely hope so, because I've got a big shelf full of those books. New ones. Also from Modifius, they have announced that they are doing a Discworld.
Yes.
Tabletop role-playing game.
Yes.
Which I know
I fucking love Discworld.
I've never. This is why I get kicked off the podcast. I've never got into Discworld. It's just never been. It's never been a thing.
Too low fantasy for you?
I don't know what it. I'm not a big fan of humorous worlds. Like people. I'm going to get kicked off the podcast. Everybody in my life says to me, "You will absolutely love Rick and Morty." I don't like Rick and Morty. I don't like that. I don't like.
Now you're getting kicked off.
I know.
Yeah, right.
I know. The feed, Rob.
My
feed, yeah.
Come on, Damien. Come on. You got to love Rick and Morty, Damien. You got to do it, Damien.
For me personally, this is entirely personal. I think it's just I like my comedy and my fantasy and science fiction separate. Not entirely. I understand that D&D often becomes a farce at the table, and I love that. And I like humor in my science fiction and fantasy. But I guess I just don't like exclusively kind of over-the-top silly humor.
That's fair enough.
In those things. It never resonates with me.
I do sort of feel the same way, and I don't know why Discworld seems to be the exception. I think there's a lot of heart that is underneath all the humor and sort of like the social commentary part of it and the ridiculous that it sort of brings out to show that, I think is what I like it. I am super excited for this RPG. The only problem I think is going to be tough is that the DM has got to try and get that tone right. If you're not Terry Pratchett, that's a difficult tone to hit. So either the book's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting, or the DMs are going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of the adventures that you are going to write for it. It's going to be difficult, I think. Right. So I'm very interested to see sort of how they sort of bring that to life, because the world itself, Discworld is so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Having a lot of mode. Sorry, go on, Rob.
I was just going to say, go back to your point, Damien, about not being into comedy stuff that's like sci-fi. How come you like Ghostbusters? Because that's built on comedy by comedians.
Yes, I think the reason I like Ghostbusters. I think the reason I like Ghostbusters, it's not Ghostbusters, and it's one of the reasons a lot of the sequels failed, is because it's not silly. It is silly.
Well, the one with the female cast one.
They take themselves very seriously, and that's what's funny.
Yeah.
They're not pratfalling most of the time, and they're not making toilet humor, and it's funny because they are. It's funny in the same way that The Big Bang Theory, at least the early seasons, was funny. Is that they take themselves deadly seriously.
Yeah. It's more of like a what's the word? It's the humor is parody. It's more of like the humor of what you're viewing is like, because you're viewing the reality of a situation. It's like the fact that, like, I know what you mean, because like in the original Ghostbusters film, the comic relief was Ray and Peter.
Yeah.
But Ray was like a subtle comic relief.
Yeah.
because he took himself so seriously and so believed in the supernatural and all that kind of stuff.
He would say things like,
he just became funny.
He would say things like, "Shush, do you smell that?"
And,
really just little silly
line.
little things, but they took themselves, and it's because Dan Aykroyd 100% believes all that stuff. Like, he believes all the
oh yeah, he's off his head.
Yeah, he believes all that stuff. So it was also.
Is he really? He's
got like a full-on tinfoil helmet and everything. He's like,
he believes all that stuff.
He's all in. He's all in. He's all in.
So that's why. Man. But I agree that the tone of Discworld, and granted, I'm the worst person to ask because I'm not very well read on it at all. But the tone I know, and I know that will probably be quite tricky.
Have you tried to read any of it?
I have.
And where did you start?
I actually played Carrot on stage in a production of a Discworld.
Cool. That's why you don't like it.
Which
You're
I know I'm
into it.
The wrong person to be cast as that character, but
amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I should give it another try if I ever get chance or time.
Here's a random.
I think
question.
Night's Watch is a really good book because it's not overly funny, and it's a really emotional story. I don't know though if it's a great entry point to Times and Carrot. Color of Magic is an awful entry point. It's just ridiculous from start to finish. That and The Light Fantastic, they're really good, but I really like the books. But as an entry point, if you're looking for something that's not comedic, I would think like Guards, maybe the Going Postal is quite good because that's quite serious. There's like the threat of his death looming over it, and I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot of comedy in a lot of the Discworld books, but I think there are books where it's more the focus. So I think like the Guards books, less so. Some of the Witches books too. All the Rincewind ones, I would say, are the most comedic of them.
Damien, do you like?
You're clearly very well read on.
I have a huge collection of Discworld hardbacks.
Oh, fab! Any first editions?
No, sadly not.
Oh man!
So this RPG is for you.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
All the audiobooks is what I listen to go to sleep at night. So
it'd be brilliant. The RPG would be brilliant because if it's true to the source material, it'd be ace.
Damien, do you like Community, the TV show?
No.
I've never watched Community. I've never watched Community.
Okay. I don't think you'd like it. If you don't like it's made by the same creator or one of the co-creators of Rick and Morty. So I don't know. It's very similar humor, just in a live action, far non-sci-fi-esque setting. And then they go kind of wild with it. I'm a huge Community fan.
About?
So I was like, I was just curious. I was like, I don't know that he's ever
about
seen
Red Dwarf? Red Dwarf, Damien?
I think I've watched a fair amount.
Is that the Seth MacFarlane show?
No, it's the British.
No,
they tried to do an American version. It just didn't work because the humor was very, very British. It's
the Orville is
about these guys out in space, and they're they're basically out in space and they're like mining stuff. It's really.
My sense of humor is so hard.
It's
so hard to quantify. Yeah. I think I tried it when I was younger, Red Dwarf, and I was probably not of the right age to watch it. I probably would enjoy it a lot more now. My sense of humor, I don't even know how to explain it. I just because I like daft things, like if anyone's ever seen Green Wing, and Scrubs, even when that gets particularly daft. But again, that's not touching my fantasy or sci-fi stuff. So I don't know. I really don't know.
You might be okay with Community then, to be fair, because it's not touching fantasy or sci-fi. It references a lot of that sort of media. It does like pastiches.
Send me your messages. Send me your recommendations.
The thing is, I totally get where Damien's coming from, because I don't like it. Yeah. I don't like it when you've got like the Star Trek series of films, and then they start introducing everybody as a comic relief. Like what they did with the new Ghostbusters, with the girls playing all the Ghostbusters.
Everyone
was funny. And it's like they didn't have to you just have like one person that's funny.
Because they put 4 comedians in that movie.
I know, but they did. Yeah. But they did that with the original Ghostbusters.
The original.
The only one who wasn't a comedian was what's his chops? The chap who played Winston. But they originally wanted Eddie Murphy.
Right.
But Eddie Murphy was doing Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So he couldn't do it.
What is his name? I don't remember what his name is. Ernie Hudson. Yeah.
No, to be fair, to a degree, I absolutely agree with fantasy and sci-fi. I don't like it to be like just comedic. I don't know why Discworld sort of gets a pass from me. I read Guards first, and I think from there I really engaged with the characters. No, I didn't. No, I got to Discworld really late, which is disappointing. Like I think Terry Pratchett had already died when I started listening to and reading Discworld. So it's just one of those things my parents never bought me as a kid. I was a Harry Potter and a Lord of the Rings. Like I had The Hobbit as like one of the earliest memories of like a book that I'd read, and then from there sort of what got me started in fantasy. But yeah,
cool.
Okay, there you go. Interesting.
So last 3 new systems or new properties finding its way into the RPG system. The most surprising of the 3, Tomb Raider.
Oh.
Tomb Raider is getting a official tabletop role-playing game. Yes.
Yeah, why?
Why? It's a great question. Why?
Obviously, it's a cheap
property.
IP. That's probably why.
Evil Hat Publishing, makers of Fate and Blades in the Dark, are doing
Tomb
Raider.
Okay.
They've acquired it. It's been cheap.
It's a group of. I mean, typically it's not a group. It's usually Lara Croft, but
it's a sole Tomb Raider.
It's a group of people going into trap-laden dungeons to find treasure. So
yeah,
I don't see as.
Yeah, why? Like, listen, there's nobody who loves the Lara Croft Tomb Raider IP more than I do, even through all of its random iterations. But why a TTRPG?
It's not. It doesn't seem like a group thing.
There's no cohesive sort of lore. First of all, you're already messing with various amounts of different settings. Like the Lara Croft backstory and history has been revamped 3 or 4 times at this point. So even if it's traditional Lara Croft, which I think is still the fan favorite, why? There's most of the dungeon delving and the exploring that she does, the tomb raiding, one might say, is not really interconnected. There's no world there, if you know what I mean. It's obviously set on Earth. It's just there's
with like
with a very minor.
There it is.
I agree.
Go find some loot.
Maybe the angle on this is that it's a little bit more survival based. That might be interesting. Where like it's harder to do certain things like climbing up, certain ropes and
I wonder if
tombs and.
I agree with you. This is a bit of a because when I saw it, I was like, "What? Is that real?" The fact that it's coming from the people that did Blades in the Dark, I wonder if there might be an element of that. Because
heistiness to it,
that heistiness of like being able to sort of
maybe. Oh, so Chronicles? Oh, not Chronicles. What was it? Angel in the Dark, or what was Tomb Raider 6?
Oh,
Did you guys ever play that one? Just the least popular title.
Out Tomb Raider 2.
Angel of Darkness. Angel. Oh, did you? You never played Last Revelation, Rob?
I think the last time I played a Tomb Raider game.
I think I was playing it for the wrong reasons, to be honest. But yeah.
Robert.
Never confirm a cheat code.
All 4 pixels of those.
I played the 3 most recent ones, and I thought they were pretty excellent, especially as they went along.
They're fine. They're good games, and the reinvention of her character is fine. But like, there's nothing that really, and sure, it might be a lot of nostalgia at this point, but there's nothing like the original Lara Croft. It was very interesting, and the whole relationship with. Yeah, it really was. Not just as a game, but as a story as well. And I think it sparked a lot of interest in archaeology. I know Tomb Raider 4 is what got me into Egyptology when I was younger, and I almost majored in that.
I think, between that and Indiana Jones, they've got a lot of archaeologists to answer for.
Yes.
What I would like to see, and what I think would work really, really well, would be a Jurassic Park RPG, where you've got like a team of scientists.
Yes.
The DM sets up the park. He's got all his dinosaurs ready to go. He's got his the guy who like runs the park. He's got the fucking cane with the freaking amber on it, and he's all like, "Oh, welcome to Jurassic Park." We like lets you in, and like a T-Rex is like, "Down boy."
No. I want the version of that where I play the dinosaur eating the people. That would be fun too.
Are we doing Book Hammond, or are we doing movie.
Book Hammond's a bit more evil, isn't he?
I've never seen. I remember in the book.
Book Hammond's a little less benevolent.
I've not read the book, and I would like to, because I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, he's not he's not quite the benevolent, sweet old man that
the loving, doddering, naive man. I will read the book.
In fact,
and the hunter guy whose name I can't remember.
Robert Muldoon.
Muldoon is a much more interesting character in the book as well.
I read Congo.
The clever girl guy.
Michael Crichton, is it?
Crichton.
Congo's great. Yeah, Crichton.
Yeah, Congo. Right.
Anyway, sorry.
So what are we getting?
Speaking of apes, another tabletop RPG that's coming out is Planet of the Apes, the role-playing game.
Nice.
Who are the fans of Planet of the Apes? They keep bringing out films.
I know, and I can't. I think I kind of like it, but I've never met anyone who's like, dude, Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
I'm a die-hard Planet of the Apes fan.
Who are these guys? Who are they? Where are they?
I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there must be.
It must be. Someone see these films.
Yeah, someone's paying to watch them.
It's Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis just shows up at your house being like,
if you didn't know about this book, this RPG, and you've just hit the ceiling because I've said it out loud, let us know. Tell us why. Are you a massive fan of Planet of the Apes? This looks like it skews very heavily back to the original movie or movie series, because there's quite a lot of them.
Oh, interesting.
Because the artwork is very much based on that. There even is a book called The Answer Files, the classic film series source book to accompany the core rulebook.
Wow.
So it looks like it skews very heavily back to the original film series rather than the newer stuff, which is unusual because a lot of stuff seems to do the opposite. I said Fallout is based on Fallout 4, and Star Trek spends a lot of its time focusing on sort of later end Star Trek than original series. So it's weird to see, but I suppose those are the more iconic. The newer movies are good, but the artwork,
it's an interesting setting because you've got essentially it's an Earth under apocalypse, isn't it? It's sort of, kind of. I mean, so you'll have the ruins of our sort of civilization there to explore. I think finding a constant overarching story would be tough in the long term, unless the stakes are very personal.
It looks like you can play apes and humans in the book.
Oh,
you can do
that makes sense.
Either angle or both, and it looks like it also looks like it's coming with miniatures as well.
That's pretty cool.
Which is
I can see the roleplay opportunities there between the apes and human players being pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you are experienced role players and you think you can do that,
it's a very specific dystopia, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very specific.
It is.
It's not
specific.
The post-apocalypse dystopia. It's
kind of like a Survivor.
I think it probably appeals to scientists and people that are like into proper science stuff. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like, do you know what I mean? Like it's like biologists, that type of thing. Like it just
anthropologists.
I think it appeals to them. Like it's just I just don't, because it doesn't. The idea of monkeys taking over and being our overlords, apes taking over, being our overlords, it doesn't really like doesn't resonate anything with me. It doesn't.
I think the first one got so popular because of the twist, didn't it? And then since then,
it's the classic. How do we depict the cruelty of humans without expressly making humans cruel?
We find someone else to do exactly what the humans are doing.
We find a non-human species to be cruel and horrible and racist and violent and sort of wink.
A reflection.
The message is there is to show that this is what we are, and
we do this, and you think it's bad, don't you? Yes, you realised.
I remember.
Yeah, did you get the metaphor that it is?
I remember when that film came out with what's his chops? What's his name?
James Franco.
No. Before all of them. It was in
the
middle. Tim Burton directed it.
Oh, the Tim Burton one. Yeah.
With Mark Wahlberg was in it. That's right.
Yes.
Mark Wahlberg was in it.
That's a mistake.
Really? It was a Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg, directed by Tim Burton?
That shit came out. Had Helen Bonham Carter in it. Everything.
Yeah, Tim Roth.
That's almost as bad.
Tim Roth played the main guy. He played Caesar, didn't he?
Have Johnny Depp? Was Johnny Depp one of the apes?
No.
Helena Bonham Carter.
That
but no Johnny
sounds
Depp.
like the worst casting of Mark Wahlberg since that film where all the plants are killing everyone, and he plays a scientist. And he's supposed to play a scientist.
The happening. He's running away from the wind.
There's apes. There's like these monkeys. They're freaking everywhere. All right, we gotta go. There's apes now.
Yeah, that's always like. But when that came out, I think at the same time, Time Machine came out, and Time Machine didn't get anywhere near as much because it was a fucking good film.
I did like the Time Machine.
I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was alright.
I enjoyed it.
As in like H.G. Wells's.
There was like a modernish, released around a similar time.
Guy Pearce plays him.
That's
Guy
right.
Pearce plays him. Yeah. And
Samantha
Mumba plays the lead girl in it. Yeah, Samantha Mumba.
Oh my god,
I remember it. Yeah, it's actually all right. It's all right, but it does need a remake because it could be a lot better. Like it could be, they could really go to town on it and make it awesome. Especially going back to what you said about like the whole idea of like putting a microscope over humanity and how our cruelty is and all this kind of stuff, because it shows you like where he's going with like the separation of humanity, how it becomes like you've got like one part of humanity just becomes more and more and more beast-like and becomes like animals, while the other side of humanity just becomes more and more greedy and like maniacal with their intelligence. And it's like a really interesting sort of thing going on. But yeah. Check it out.
Jeremy Irons was in that.
Jeremy Irons. He plays the main antagonist.
I remember
We've been hitting the science fiction checkpoints all the way through this podcast.
There's been a lot of science fiction releases lately that I've really enjoyed. I realised, Rob, you didn't like Three Body Problem, but I really like. I think Three Body Problem kicked off me being like, fuck yeah, sci-fi again.
I couldn't get past. I hate that actor. That actor that's in Game of Thrones, the guy who plays.
Oh, John Bradley.
Sam.
The guy who plays
Sam. Yeah.
He's fine. I feel like there are worse offenders.
What's going on? I don't know.
I saw. I mean, how many episodes did you get into it?
Because one.
Okay,
half,
well, he's not
in
it.
Pub.
He's not in
the
it
pub and that fake conversation like they're fake
Rob,
mates.
tell me how you really feel.
They just don't have any chemistry. There's no chemistry between any of them. It's just like I was like, do you guys even want to be in this bloody TV show? Like you're not even.
I think it gets better, and I really like.
You can hear the script. It's just like. No.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not for me.
There is one last RPG announcement, and I know at least a couple of you are probably going to, because one of you even actually mentioned the title of this earlier in the podcast. Arkham Horror.
Oh, okay.
Is being converted from its board game roots to an actual role-playing game by.
There's already one, but that's fine.
By Asmodee and Edge Studio.
It's called Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, exactly. This is specifically Arkham Horror, the role-playing game.
Right.
Asmodee and Edge Studio have announced it. It's a D6 system.
Nice. Honestly,
D6. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Dynamic pool system is what it's called. I have no familiarity with that whatsoever.
So. They took a game that is effectively like a 6 to 8 hour game where you always lose, and now they're making it a weekly game where you always lose. This is great.
The initial adventure, Hungering Abyss, is divided into 10 scenes, each playable in 1 hour or more.
So 10 hours, and then you die.
Yeah. Guys, I have the board game version of Eldritch Horror, and I never have opened it. I've played Arkham Horror once. I've played Eldritch Horror once. I never find people that are like willing to sit down for 8 hours to figure this
Eldritch
game
Horror
out.
is not that difficult.
It's sitting in the bottom of
JC, this weekend, I'm bringing the King's Reign.
Don't tell me to bring it because I can't.
I've got it. I've opened it.
You've got Eldritch Horror. Let's do it.
I'll bring that.
Let's go. Rob, we're going to be late to Rolldark Fest. Just FYI.
It's fine because we can set it up the night before when we get down there on the Friday, and then if we don't,
take
finish
2 hours,
it, we can play it after Rolldark Fest on the Saturday night as well.
on the Saturday night.
Play it.
Go from playing games for 8 hours
we've
to
got
play more
the
games.
place until 9 o'clock. So unless I'm imagining games are probably going to be done by about 6, 7. So. Yeah, just crack out a board game. Why not?
Just go for it. We'll want to eat at some point.
Oh yeah. Well, we've got dinner. We've got lunch and dinner. Yeah. Don't worry. My Charlotte's sister Jen is doing the catering.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
she's
Okay,
a professional caterer. So she's coming along to do that.
Excellent.
Should be quite nice. Yeah.
Wonderful. Good. I'm looking forward to it.
I also bought this
Damien,
morning
that was awesome.
87 packets of Walker's crisps. So you can have those as well if you want.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna shotty about 30 of those just for me. And
But why the hell not?
So that's the news. So if
awesome.
That was a lot, but obviously we've been away for a little while. So if you guys want to dive into Rolldark Fest, because I'm not attending, so I don't know all the details.
Well, I think
it's a long way. But
yeah, I mean,
I got a room at my table.
everyone that's involved in it this year has done a really good effort to kind of to get it up and running. So I've had to take a bit of a break from it for the last couple of I'd say probably about the last 2 months, because Charlotte had a bit of a bad pregnancy, and then towards the end we had to we had all sorts of issues, and then when the baby eventually came, it was amazing, but then we had another issue we had to deal with, and now we're back to where we are, which is great, and everything's cool.
Baby okay now?
Perfect now,
Okay.
which is great.
Okay.
So yeah, everything's all positive again, which is great. But yeah, it's Rolldark Fest. Really looking forward to it this weekend. I think that what we should really discuss, which I think our listeners would probably be quite interested in, is the beginning of this podcast. We were talking about world building, and I'd like to find out from you guys where you start with world building. What is like the first thing that you think of when you're building a world?
The story I want to tell, I think, is the first thing. Weirdly, if I'm doing one for an RPG, at least. Or if actually I did start writing a book, a fantasy novel, and the first thing I was like, well, what story do I want to tell? What do I need to make that happen? And I think that's the easiest way, because it sort of kickstarts. Because you can spend forever being like, okay, so I need water, I need them to have crops everywhere. I need to. How do I go about? And then you will go down a rabbit hole where you've spent days planning a load of stuff that is totally irrelevant for what you're going to use the setting for.
Yeah,
great. Sure. I know the name of every farmer in this southern continent that I've created. I know there's other continents. I know their names, their details, the mountain ranges, forests, rivers, lakes, and no one's going to see any of it. You're not using that.
Or ask what they're called, or what. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. You spent 10 days naming all these geographical features and towns and stuff, and it's not going to be used.
So do you build as you go then, James? Would you say?
No, because I don't take my own advice. But what I will do is I'll start building from a story point. So I'll be like, okay, if I want to have this, what do I need? And then I start placing those, and then I will build out from that. So at the very least, I'll have what I need, and then I'll have more because I get carried away.
Right.
And if you got a cleric in your party, you're like, oh shit, I need some gods.
You need some gods, yeah. That's it. I think gods is also is a tricky thing to do. You can either, if you're running D&D, it's easy to just keep the standard D&D gods. Be like, yeah, there'll be. And if your player asks, is there a temple to my god in this town? And you think realistically there could be, say yes, and then there is one. That's like an easy route to that.
Okay, cool.
I'm interested in JC's answer because mine's different to that.
Mine's different too. I have a 2-part answer to this, actually. So my standard answer is I actually like to draw inspiration from a map. So I've drawn my own maps before, but if I can take sort of, I did this recently with one of the Patreons I support. She releases these world maps that she just sets out, and I saw this one. It was unlabeled, it was all blank, but the terrain was there and it was well designed and beautiful. And I was like, I will start by figuring out what this geography is. And sure, I'll pull from inspiration from things like IPs that I know or other things I've done. Like if I see a rather desolate, barren region where there's a lot of mountains kind of forming a border, I'm like, ooh, this could be interesting. This might be where the orcs live, where they've been exiled after a war, but now they hold this outpost. But what they're actually doing is they're defending the rest of the lands to the south from a threat to the north. And then this whole polar region over here has, and I start kind of building around that. I'm like, oh, there's this great mountain chain. Well, over here, there's a pass right in this area, but that pass is ancient, and has been conquered and lost many times over, and right now it's currently in the hands of the dwarves, but they're struggling to hold it versus the goblinoids that are coming from the other side of the mountains. I look at a map and I start picking out regions and kind of developing the history of the world from the geography of the world, which I find very fulfilling. And then the stories just kind of come to me as I'm doing that. That being said, my second part, which I'll make very quick, my second part to this answer is I don't really world build for TTRPGs. In other words, I don't create my own worlds for TTRPGs, for the ones I run. I usually use pre-established worlds. The reason I do that is not because I'm not capable or that I'm not interested. It's because I did it when I was a kid. I world built a book that I was writing and a whole fantasy world for it, and I poured my heart and soul into it, and I don't think I have the stamina for that again, to the degree that I would hold myself to. I could lose my entire life redoing that or doing it multiple times for different games, and I know because I'm too detail oriented, and the minute I start sort of developing that world, I'll be like, this is going to take me 10,000 years and I'll never, and the players, like you said, James, will never get to experience any of it. You know, they'll want to know why Holga at the tavern has a peg leg and that's it. You know, that's it. So yeah, Damien, what's your answer?
I can feel that last part of your answer a lot. When I've run for Rolldark, historically it's always been systems that are already in place. D&D, Forgotten Realms is or pre-existing campaigns. But personally, at home, I do spend a lot of time world building for fantasy and sci-fi and all these kind of things. I've got several irons in the fire for that. Where I tend to start is the idea.
That's a great place to start too.
So whether you want to quantify that as genre or time period or using magic or gods as a standpoint, what's the idea? What's the thing that makes this world what it is? And then build from there, because I tend to find that what I do is I'll have the idea and then I'll start to ask myself why, and start answering those questions. And as I start answering those questions, like, why did it get like that? How did it get like that? Okay, so if it got like that because of the gods, then why did the gods do that? And are they still around? And so on and so forth, until I start, those answers, for me at least, almost invariably start leading to factions and civilizations and gods and places. And once I start hitting those, I can kind of shuffle out all the ideas that are kind of loose and start honing in on one of those factions or one of those places. And now it's in that world with that idea backing it up. It will then focus in. So I have a whole campaign setting based on the idea of being in a world where the world is literally fractured into floating islands. And so that leads to, well, if the world is fractured like that, how do people get around? What technology do they have to get around between these places? So then
why is it like that?
I don't want to go too in depth with it because I could fill a whole podcast with it, but I have a whole kind of pseudo sci-fi reason for why the world is like it is. But how do people get around? Well, they get around on a combination of animals and creatures and airships. So they use airships and they use things like griffins and wyverns. Okay, well, there must be people who train the wyverns and train the griffins. And do those two factions get along because they're very different animals? Is there a choice that they choose those specific animals, or do they mix and match? Well, no, it would be pretty cool if they didn't mix and match, and there's a rivalry between the griffins and the wyverns. And so it starts to answer its own questions in my head and start creating these places and these factions. And that starts to build, because when people hear that they can fly around on floating islands on a griffin or on a Zeppelin pirate ship, people go, "Oh, I want to do that." And okay, so who are the pirates that run the pirate version of these people, and who's the people in the government or whatever the equivalent of that is? Is there a one city where like civilization exists and the rest is the Wild West? These kind of things. You see how it just goes and goes and goes, and that's how I tend to build.
It does seem quite similar to like
the why leads you.
The why is sort of like how I build out from. We just have a different starting point because you get to the point where like, okay, okay, so
and likewise, like I'll look at a map and I'll be like, well, why are people trying to get to this side of the mountain range? Why haven't they built bridges or passes? Is there something that stops them? Maybe this mountain range is full of dragons and they know they have to go underground rather than over it. the wise.
Yeah, now you know where the dragons are.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So maybe that's our advice then: is find out the best version to start, the thing that connects with you the most to start asking yourself those why questions, and then fill out from there. Is probably
I think that's pretty good.
quite a good.
How about you, Rob?
Strategy.
I like to do it. Through just because whenever I like, if I ever plan like a long form campaign, which I've only done 2 really in my sort of DMing experience, and when I've done it, I build gradually per session. So based on what the players have interacted with, or what they've done, or where they've been, I'll then build from there. So, for example, if they come across a temple, then I'll be like, I'll literally make up a name on the fly of the god that the people in that temple worship, and I'll just literally. I'm very much like improvisation on the spot. I love it. So I imagine I'm pretty good at it, but I just like make stuff up. Like, for example, these guys arrived at this.
This is the temple of Croesus Joist.
Exactly.
The
Croesus
Lord and
Joist,
Savior.
yeah.
I'll
He's
take your Lord.
He's great. He's a great guy. Yeah, watch out for him. Or I keep it ambiguous, and also as well is like what I like to do in my games is I like to make the citizens of the cities or the towns that they're in really ignorant to where they are. So, like, for example, they won't know the names of the river, or they won't know that there's a river that even runs through their town. And that might sound absolutely bonkers, but this has happened to me in real life. Like, for example, I'll probably keep my voice down because this is the receptionist who actually did this. She mentioned the other day we're having a chat, and she said about she was like, oh yeah, that club down in Whitney that's called the Windrush. It's so interesting that they would name it after the ship that brought in all the people from the Caribbean back in the 60s and the 50s. And I was like, that's not what they've named it after. And she's like, well, what they named it? I was like, they named it after the river that runs through. The ship's named after the river that runs through Whitney called the Windrush. And there's a river. She's like, there's a river that runs through the town. I was like, well, yeah, of course there is. It's that river there. That river is the River Windrush. It goes all the way through Whitney, and that's why you've got a town called Windrush. It's just a bit further up here. Why you've got businesses called the Windrush Car Mechanics. Why you've got that club called the Windrush Club. It's all called after this river. Yeah. And she was like, I had no idea. And I was like, how long have you lived here? She's like, all my life. I was like,
how do you not know the name of the river that runs through your town?
Some people are ignorant to it. They don't care about the river's name. They just know there's a bit of water that goes through their town. They don't know what it's called. They don't care what it's called. They don't think about it, and that can happen. People can be like that. And I love putting those sorts of people in my games.
Yeah,
it drives my players bonkers, and I'm like, these people exist.
No, this is based on real life. Right?
Not everyone's going to know the name of the river that goes through their town.
I'll take you to meet her. Her name is Emma. She's right outside.
Yeah, exactly. Like some people that live in a town might not even have a map. Like if we're talking like medieval fantasy towns, a map, I imagine, is a very expensive commodity. It's an expensive thing to have because it's hand drawn. It's a piece of artwork that someone's produced. It takes a while for them to produce it. So not everyone's going to know that behind those hills is a mountain and 2 other towns. Like not everyone's going to know that unless, of course, they deal with merchants on a daily basis, or they have some kind of like reason to know that.
That's a good point. You can have maps that always just omit big things because whoever's written the map didn't think it was important. Like there's an entire city missing off because they trade with me, so I'm not putting on the map. I need to know where that is. I'm not going back there.
Yeah, why should I go back there? I don't know who those guys are.
But then players will always assume that these things are like readily available, being like, hey, where can we buy a map of the town for like a gold? And I'm like, that's sometimes not how it works.
Yes, totally.
Like it depends on your setting and your level of technology and stuff. But it may not necessarily exist. You can't just assume that these things are readily available. Being like, I'll have to go to the silversmith and get my weapon silvered. How do we know that they have shipments of silver? How do we know that that's a commodity that this small village trades in? They may not. Sure, they need somebody to repair their metalwork, but they may not have a specialized craftsman. They're like, oh, can I go to the magic item shop?
What?
Wait,
what magic item shop?
Yeah, I'm looking for my +3 great sword of warning. Can I buy that because I have 2,500 gold for it? And I'm like, I'm just here tearing
one thing you've done, Rob, is you've actually given a really great piece of advice by just telling us what your method is. Because What your method does is allows you to play. you build as you play, which is great. If that's what you want
You're
to do.
You're supposed to play?
My setting, I can imagine when my kids are in their 30s and I'm there like, finally, my setting is ready. We can play. And they're like,
turn into Gandalf when you're in your 60s.
Of course.
We're all going to turn into
Beard's
Gandalf.
coming in. Beard's coming in.
Yeah.
That's
how
that
happens.
They'll be like, Dad, D&D doesn't exist anymore. Shut up.
Dad, we want to play the Star Trek game,
actually. My method, at least for the time being, has not allowed me to, or it's my own fault, but sort of prevents me from playing in it because, like JC, I want to kind of be thorough in some aspects of it before I let people touch it. Your method lets you play, which is the whole point. So if you want to play D&D and build a world, Rob's method is the best because you build as you go and answer the questions when they come up in the game.
Totally.
Yeah,
because whenever I've had a player like ask me what the god is in this world, I'm like, will your character know what the god is in this world? And they're like, well, they're a rogue. I'm like, does your rogue ever go to church? Do they care? Do they care? Does the rogue have any kind of like a fealty to a temple? Has it ever like had that kind of like? Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to understand that we live in an age of information where the only reason why we know about Scientology is because the TV's told us about it, you know, or you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like the ignorance of children who will only know about church because they've been taken to church because of weddings or whatever, or if they go regularly because their parents are Christian. Do you know what I mean? Like nowadays, religion is a very unless of course you're singing hymns in school, you're going to a religious school, you're not really going to touch on it, really. You know, so it's like and that's because we're not really bombarded by it anymore. And back in this fantasy world, unless there was like a really heavy religious presence where the rogue grew up, like there was a real like full-on religion thing going on, how's he going to know what the temple is or whatever? His religion is theft or whatever, you know, that's his thing.
Because they don't have, potentially they don't have an education system like we do where they go through school and learn about different religions and stuff.
This is my favorite thing. This is why I think Monty Python and the Holy Grail is one of the best things ever, because that very beginning with the very knowledgeable, annoying peasant in the muck, right?
Yeah.
Who knows everything about government. Power should be derived from the masses. See, we're living in a system of government. I'm being repressed. It's brilliant because it's a play on the whole trope of like peasants being ignorant and not really knowing what's going on. And then King Arthur finds this one guy who like is far too well versed in politics.
Exactly. Which isn't fitting to the setting, but funny because it's not.
Not at all, but it's hilarious because it's different. Exactly.
So in a way, you can use that to your benefit as a DM. You can be like, look, you know, you've got to remember that your characters know what your characters know. If they're level 1 characters, they've probably, you know, if you're playing it in that kind of way, they've just learnt their class. You know, and that's been their focus. That's been their primary focus for however many years. And depending on whether or not that class teaches them the ways of the world, I imagine a cleric, they'll probably learn the ways of the world. So if their wisdom is high, then you could say, okay, well, your wisdom's high, so you would naturally know what the gods are because you'd probably be inquisitive. You'd be like, I'd want to know what the gods are. I want to know what there's over here. What's behind that hill? You know, that creates a wise person, that intrigue, you know? So you could have that kind of, you could be like that with them. But the other players who don't have wisdom, they're strong or dexterity or whatever, they don't give a shit about who the gods are. Or at least they shouldn't. You know, it's you know what I mean? It's like,
it can be that way.
Can't it?
I mean, if you think about it, likewise, a person who, you know, a lot of people go around constantly. I'm sure you guys experience this all the time. A player will be like, can I make a nature check to see if I know more about this random monster that we're encountering right now, or this like deep hidden threat that's never come up? And I'm like, you can, but unless it makes sense for your character to have studied,
absolutely,
specifically, like if you were a studious character, or because otherwise you're like, you know, oh, my backstory is I've grown up in the woods as a hermit, and now we're fighting a Modron from Mechanus. Like, I don't think a history check will help you. You've heard of it, from a passerby squirrel that you talk to one day. Not necessarily.
Exactly.
Right. Like, I don't want to deny my players a check to see if they know more, but at the same time, you have to find a way to justify it. And if you can't, you're like, I actually don't think it makes sense.
Yeah,
to try.
it's like if you got someone from, say, I don't know, if let's imagine there's no television, there's no internet, none of that stuff's happening, and you got someone from like, say, I don't know, Yorkshire, picked them up, stuck them in, say, Scotland, where there's grey wolves, and said, "Here's a grey wolf," right? And the person in Yorkshire's like, "Holy shit, I've never seen one of those before. I've heard stories about them,
stories,
but I don't know."
right.
But I
you
don't know how big they
they
are.
Dogs,
I've
I
got
guess.
I've got no picture
Right,
reference at all because I've never seen one in the flesh. Like, no one's ever gone, "This is what a wolf is." You know, I don't know. I have no idea that they hunt in packs. I have no idea what food they eat. Maybe I know that they eat meat. Maybe I was told a story as a child about wolves being like these nasty wolves that lived in Scotland that used to hunt humans. Maybe that existed, but like most of it, you don't really know that much. You know,
It's
And now take that and think of it as a species level thing,
totally.
right? Like, oh, I've never met a dwarf in my life because they live on the other side of this other island. Or I've never met pick a weirder way. I've never met a fallen Aasimar before because you wouldn't. That's not a common thing.
To pull this,
I don't know, what were you going to say, Damien?
into a fully cyclical callback, just look at the three main characters of Fallout and what they know about the world.
Yep.
There you go.
Right.
Lucy has a
100%.
terrible frame of reference for what the world is like because she's been in this insular community that has their own theories about what the world is like and teach her things that are most of the time wrong or just outright lies. Whereas you've got the member from the Brotherhood who is in the world and so has a better idea, but is still incredibly insular and has an entire ideology that frames how he sees the world. And then you've got
and a very restricting ideology. It's basically a cult or a church.
And then you've got the bounty hunter, the ghoul, who is an incredibly worldly person because he has to be, because of the life he's been around for a long time, and because of the life he leads, the sort of job he has. He needs to know everywhere and everything and where everyone would go.
And that's great. That to me is like a brilliant way to put your characters into your world with ignorance, you know, or with like a preconceived perception of the world, you know, that they think they know what they're getting themselves into, but actually it's totally different.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the classic thing that every D&D player does. What classes are those three characters? Because here's my theory. Lucy is a bard. Lucy is a bard. She's a teacher. Canonically, she's a teacher. She's a teacher of American history. Lucy is a bard. And her charisma score is really high. That's how she survives all of those situations.
She's also a babe. She's also a babe.
She's a babe. But like nobody really cares about that for the most part. Most people are like, you want to come live with me in my house? You can be my wife and help with the chores.
You got all your limbs.
From California. I don't know why I gave them. Yeah. The ghoul, I think, is probably, I'm going to say, a ranger, honestly. Like he's very good at tracking. He knows everything there is to know about the environment, right? And then obviously we have what's his name? Maximus is the paladin. Yeah. Well, maybe paladin multi-class, but at first he probably starts as what, like or just like a low level paladin, I guess. Yeah.
I definitely I like that aspect of it a lot. The fact that they are like going into it with preconceived conceptions of the world that they're in. It's completely different to what they imagined it to be.
Right.
And that
every single
they're all going to be challenged on their, like, from where they start is going to probably be very different from where they end up, and you can see how sort of it could change.
Honestly,
this is why the show is brilliant.
It would definitely take a certain group of players to be prepared to do that with their characters, you know, to in order to be like, yep, fine, we can totally be ignorant to this world, and to have a preconceived perception of the world, like to have that woven into your backstory would be brilliant. I think make a really interesting D&D game.
I've not deeply thought about it this way before, honestly. And now that I am thinking about it, the idea of taking each class and thinking about just how worldly each of them would be, I think is a really fascinating way to. But like you say, you would probably need to have a great deal of trust or a big conversation with your players about running it this way. But I think that could be a fascinating way of running a game of D&D.
It make it really
And
deep.
the
You can have
idea,
extra level of like stuff to deal with.
sure. And the idea that every single one of their preconceived notions is shattered, and that includes the ghoul, the most worldly character there is, the one who knows everything about there is to know about the world, finds that goodness, which has long since been eradicated from the planet, still exists in the innocence of Lucy's character.
Is that a spoiler,
right?
JC?
That
sort
well,
of.
it's an obvious thing to notice. But yeah, you're right.
Right.
He seems very resistant up until the point that I'm watching. But yes, I can see that is where it's going.
Right?
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, not that, there's still progress needs to be made. This is still only season 1, so it's not that big of a spoiler, James. But it's telegraphed well, but not overtly.
I do find that with players, they are very rigid in their ideas of their character. They want their character to be, the best of the best in a lot of respects, and with that comes the sort of like the sort of stubbornness of what they know and what they like. They don't. A lot of them won't like. I feel like a lot of players won't like the idea of their character not knowing or having the wrong knowledge. Because you can have a character that's incredibly wise on like paper on their character sheet, but wise in the wrong stuff. They've been taught the wrong things. Because that'd be cool as well. Like they're like, it's completely like not what you expected it to be. Actually, oh sorry, it's actually this way.
It would be cool to tell them that. You've heard that trolls are weak to ice or lightning.
Ice. Yeah,
that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yes.
The troll weakness thing is time and time and time again. You can watch the players, if they're not outwardly doing it, inwardly trying to work out how they can justify using a flame effect on this creature without outright saying, I know that this thing is weak to fire.
So I gotta ask, how did this come about? Is this I'm talking about outside of D&D. Is it popular knowledge? Is there like a fable about trolls that I don't know where they're vulnerable
Only
to fire?
trolls.
No, so it's a purely D&D thing.
I think so.
How is that so common knowledge? I've brought people who've never played D&D before, and Damien, sure as everything, they'll see a troll and be like, do we have torches? Like first question, right? Or do we have a wizard that can cast fireball? Like immediately. And I'm like, how do people know this? Is it that just ingrained through society after 50 years of D&D in the culture? Like, I didn't know this going on. I wanted to know that trolls were vulnerable to fire. I was like, oh God, a troll. But we're not at a bridge. That's all I had.
That's one of the biggest culprits, I think, is the troll. It's a really good example of player knowledge, character knowledge breaking.
Same thing with chests. Maybe a little less so than the troll, but like anyone who sees a chest in a suspicious scenario will poke it with a stick first, right? Because they're like, oh, mimics. Mimics exist in this world.
Do you know about mimics? Like, have you encountered one before?
Yeah, right. But then you become antagonistic because you're like telling a player what they do and don't know, and that they're not being rewarded for their clever, out of character thinking ahead of time.
There is a mechanic. In a game that I've got that I really want to run because it's super. I think I may have mentioned it before. It's called Outbreak Undead, 2nd edition, and it's a zombie survival. And it's got 3 modes of play depending on how complex you want it to be, and it gets really deep in the weeds for survival, down to monitoring your own consumption of food and water and all that kind of stuff. But one of the mechanics they have in it is really interesting. In the book, it says there isn't really a specific stat to talk about how knowledgeable you are in the understanding that this is a modern sort of survival post-apocalyptic world. You would probably know about as much as you know as a person. However, we have a mechanic called Gestalt, which is like XP, and you can spend it when you make your character to increase your stats and things like that. And as you level, you can use it to increase your stats. But one other thing you can do with it is you can spend Gestalt points that you're holding on to give yourself a piece of knowledge or skill that you feel you would have picked up as time went on. Because obviously, for us as people, even though we would know a lot about the world, we wouldn't necessarily know a lot about how that world would eventually become, especially if you're going late stage apocalypse.
Yeah.
So you can spend, and there's some live plays of it, and one person, they had this tight-knit group of kind of mercenary types in a live play, and one of them was like, would we have like a way to communicate when we're separated, like a bird call or something? And the GM was like, yeah, you can spend a Gestalt point to have the skill bird call, which allows you to have learned that as a group and use it's like a resource. And I think that's a really clever mechanic.
I think so. Yeah, to like justify retroactively what you might have done or might know. There's something similar, and I don't know if it's Blades in the Dark or maybe you guys can help me because I'm sure you would know. But I encountered it once. It's a heist-based game, and you can spend. There's a mechanic where you can sort of spend a limited resource. I forget exactly what it's called, to have prepared for an unforeseen scenario in advance. Like
I think Blades does that, doesn't it? I don't know it that well, but I think
it is a Blades. I think it is a Blades
Star Wars
mechanic
has something similar
like,
as well, where you've got the light side and dark side points, so you can flip and be like, "Oh, did we bring grenades?"
You can flip.
Oh, yeah, we don't. But if I flip this, flip a light side point. Oh yeah, we've.
It's very similar. It's very similar. Yeah. Anyway, we should wrap. Yeah. I do have a tale from the table. I think we should quickly sort of go through that. If we have the moment for it. This is brought to us by Face. In his now no longer ongoing, awesome, like incredibly long session,
3 years,
epic campaign.
3.5 years,
which he just wrapped up.
Yeah, well done, Face.
But this was a highlight from it, and it's actually in 2 parts. But what I'm going to do for the sake of time is sort of summarize the first part and then read through the specifics of the second part because it's very well written and well detailed. Hopefully pretty short, so I'll try and get through this. The Unbroken, which is the name of the campaign, the Unbroken, embark on one last adventure with their skyship, the Storm's Call, with Allura and Kima joining for support. If you recognize those names, by the way, you'd know that this is a Tal'Darai campaign setting. Traveling over the next day and a half, the ship manages to navigate through the worst of the Shadow Storm. Just before they are dropped down near their target site of the Temple of Elements, Kima presents a gift from Vasselheim of a Hero's Feast scroll, which emboldens the party and crew under the fearful storm. Sabali wisps some of the storm's shadow to stealthily cover the party's ascent to the temple's site. There, they find several dead bodies of the temple's protectors, and as they inspect the central temple, a gargantuan stone guardian, corrupted by the Oblivion's void, strikes out at the Unbroken. And that's where they ended session 155. Wow. Then they bleed into session 156, which I'll read through as fast as I can. An intense and deadly encounter occurs within the formerly hallowed walls of the temple. Sabali and Raphael lead the charge against the giant guardian. Its corrupted rune-covered blade slices and blinds them, though Sabali's shadowy skills allow him to keep fighting. Raphael's mirror images and displacer cloak buffer him from the Void Guardian's blows, but even he is whittled down with the whirling storm of the giant blade. Simeon comes to their aid to provide some distraction and suppress, with the burning radiance of his spirit guardians, an onslaught of outsiders that erupt from the Void Guardian. Zenny hastes Orlando to unleash a devastating volley with his boomstick, the tool of destruction, after a minor mistake of healing the Guardian with a firebolt. The Stormborn vaporizes the surrounding outsiders with a chain of lightning. Arthur provides some supportive magics from outside the temple and provides some generous healing to a near-dead Sabali and gets him back into the fight. The Void Guardian, overwhelmed, manages to find his target of the cleric amongst his duplicates and strikes him down unconscious. Just as the corrupted construct moves to bring Raphael down too, the weary former Winter Knight strides up the giant sword to land the killing smite down on the Guardian. Without the immediate threat of the Guardian, the group heals and inspects the temple, pinpointing the corruption to the crystal orbs of the center that correspond with the elemental shrines outside. Though Simeon's giant strength potion and Sabali's balancing, or through his giant strength potion and her balancing, the team are able to pour the pure shrine elemental essence into each of the temple orbs, removing the corrupting influence and starting to disrupt the fear storm over the Tal'Darai forces. It goes into a little bit more, but I think that's the epic parts of it.
Cool.
Ultimately, they get to an abandoned clone laboratory, and they transform a white-haired wizard into an ancient white dragon. Pretty sick.
Cool.
Yeah, and this is all written by one of their players. These summaries,
nice.
which is he keeps like copious notes throughout the game,
cool.
and then types them up and puts them up.
That's great. It's really nice when players do that for DMs, isn't it? I know Damien, you had that with Stuart, wasn't it?
Yeah, player from Avernus summarized the whole campaign session to session, and then had it turned into a paperback, which was really cool.
Yeah, lovely.
That's
really
awesome.
Cool. Yeah,
wow.
That's really cool. Have you read it yet?
Do they want an audio book of that? Yeah. Notes. What is that? Nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Great to be back, and thanks to our listeners for tuning in. We will. Hopefully, you guys will hear us again next week. Well, you should hear us again next week if you tune in and download. Just want to quickly mention, actually. We are currently looking for sponsorship for Tales from the Tables. We've had a few offers so far, but we're open to if we can get sponsorship from our community, that would be amazing. If you email info@rolldark.co.uk, I can send you over all the details. At the moment, we're averaging around 70 plus listeners a episode, so pretty good. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then drop us a message and we can have a little chat. All right, nice one. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks to our co-hosts, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Adios, amigos. Bye.
Bye.